All right, what's up, guys? It's going to be the second episode of the Bruce and Bryce show. Today, we're going to be breaking down UFC 288 and our experience in Newark, New Jersey this weekend.
Yeah, good to see everybody. Great weekend, Bryce. We're a little tired. Couple late nights, a lot of events, and we'll fill you in on all of that. But I think let's take a look at the card.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So, we're going to touch on the one of the fights on the early prelims. I thought this was one of the cooler fights on the card. It's going to be Ikram, Alaska. Ikram, we'll go with Ikram versus Phil Haas. I thought Ikram put on a hell of a performance. He had a pretty cool call out afterwards. I thought we definitely should have touched on this fight. And yeah, what do you got?
Well, it started out. Haas was actually touching Ikram up with some solid right hands, and then Ikram showed why everybody's so high on him as a prospect. He took Haas out, and before he blinked, it was over. Actually, a little kind of a scary knockout. Actually, Haas was down for a bit. Fortunately, all reports is he was okay, and then and afterwards, Ikram, as you said, did have an interesting call out. He called out one Bo Nickel.
Yeah, I think he said he wants to put that Dagestani versus American wrestling to the test and see what Bo's got. I think that would be an awesome fight in that welterweight division.
Be great to see. I mean, we're very high on Bo. Obviously, we're having followed Bo at Penn State Wrestling and right here in PA. We know we've followed him closely. Even DC did a little, said he's not sure Bo's quite ready for that. It might be jumping into the deep waters a little too quickly on that.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Personally, I think DC spoke a little too soon. I think he's a little biased on those Dagestani wrestlers being a training partner with Khabib, but I think Bo's ready to jump in there.
Okay, well, I definitely, I would assume Bo will have at least one more fight, but, until, who knows, until, we don't know what Bo, he hasn't been challenged yet. We'll have to see, but right now, he's one of the main people that the UFC is very high on, one of their main young fighters.
Yeah, they're definitely backing him. Let's jump into the preliminary card. The first fight was a female fight between Virna Jandiroba versus Marina Rodriguez. This was kind of, I would call it the typical striker versus grappler matchup. Wasn't the most exciting matchup, but I think Virna did what she had to do to get the job done.
Yeah, they're both two Brazilian fighters, so they were very familiar with each other. They called it the Battle of Brazil, and Rodriguez came in ranked 5th, and Jandiroba came in ranked 9th. Maybe not the most exciting, but I thought Jandiroba fought an excellent fight, had an excellent game plan for to pull out the victory, and frankly, it really wasn't close. There was no doubt that Jandiroba was going to get a unanimous decision.
Yeah, for sure. I thought that was definitely a good fight. Next up on the preliminary card, Killian Williams versus Rolando Ridobi. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's Rolando Bedoya. He from Peru. He's actually, I believe he's on him only. They showed us out last night, Bryce. One of only, I think it was 3 fighters, UFC fighters ever from Peru. And he came in with a pretty high, very good record. I want to say 13-1.
I think it was 14-1.
14-1, yeah. And so he put up a good fight. Williams kind of I didn't think it was ever really in doubt. Neither guy could hurt each other. They were hitting each other with solid straight right hands. Nobody was ever hurt. Not the most exciting fight, but Williams got the job done.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how Bedoya, I can't even say his name.
Bedoya.
I'll be curious to see how he turns out in the UFC, being his UFC debut last night. He showed some heart, showed some grit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's, I think there's some potential there. It's one of those things does he now get another shot? Does he get to keep progressing? Or is he one of those guys that kind of just disappears?
Yeah, I agree with that. And moving on to the next fight on the preliminary card, Kennedy the African Savage versus Devin Clark. I thought this was an awesome fight. I think Kennedy is definitely a force to be reckoned with in the light heavyweight division.
Oh yeah, the African Savage. I was impressed. He took out Clark by a guillotine choke. and really looked solid. Had mentioned it. I believe he said his mother had recently passed away. had dedicated the fight to her, so that was pretty cool to see. Seems like just a likable young man with a bright future. I think again, if trained properly, brought along at the right pace. They were trying to get him, as Joe Rogan always says, who do you want next? He was very leery to call anybody out.
Yeah, for sure. I think he showed some versatility with that choke he put Clark out with. I think that was some showing of maybe a new skill he's been working on, but I think he's very versatile and going to be a tough out for anyone in that light heavyweight division.
Absolutely. Has some length, has some athleticism. He definitely, a lot of potential, I think, with the AKA African Savage.
For sure. Let's move on to the main event of the preliminary card. Drew Dober versus Matt Frivola. Man, we expected fireworks in this fight, and we got them.
Early on, they went out at it. Frivola does pick up the victory, but maybe a quick stoppage there. They were going at it. Herb Dean, one of the most respected refs, is I don't know, when you saw that, Dober was moving, starting to kick, looked like he was starting, and Dean jumped in there. Okay, don't get me wrong, Dober got rocked, he was hurt, but I don't know if it should have been stopped quite that quickly.
For sure, I think that was a banger from the start of the fight. The steamroller, baby, he took over New Jersey last night. I actually heard this morning that was Drew Dober's first time being KO'd in the last 11 years.
Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah, we kind of leaned Dober in that when we talked about it, our preview, and I would have liked to seen that go more, because they definitely it was an exciting fight while it lasted, and I believe Matt had a call out himself at the end there.
Yeah, Patty the Batty. I think Frivola versus Patty Pimblett, that would be a hell of a fight. They're both very exciting strikers. And I think Frivola is definitely an up-and-comer in that lightweight division.
Absolutely. And Patty's starting to get a lot of, a lot of hate, some shade thrown his way, because it seems like a lot of people, he's hand-picking his fights. He's this, he's that. And so Frivola did call him out. I think it is time Patty steps up, fights somebody. But Matt is going to be a tough out for anybody.
Definitely. Let's get into the main card, UFC 288.
Yes, sir.
Starting off, the first fight of the night, 30th anniversary. It was kind of nostalgic having a Gracie family member open that card up between Kron Gracie and Charles Jourdain. I thought this was a pretty cool fight to watch, just as being a Newark fan. I never really saw that pure jiu-jitsu style, but a lot of people were seeming to say that they thought Gracie might have had some better luck if this was 30 years ago, but his style didn't seem to match up too good with Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain put on a hell of a performance, did exactly what he had to do to win that fight, but it definitely kept you on your toes.
Air Jourdain, I thought he looked very strong. He very strong on his feet, good striking, wrestled smart when Gracie did get him to the canvas. Gracie was I think he was a little rusty. He had 3 years out. You got to remember this. He only had 6 fights prior to this, also, and had not fought at all in 3 years. I never really had Jourdain in trouble. He was trying to set some stuff up, but overall, Jourdain looked strong. And Jourdain afterward, he called out Barbosa, said he'd like that matchup.
Yeah, that would be an awesome fight. I think Charles Jourdain is definitely somebody to watch in that division, and I guess we'll see what's up next for Kron Gracie.
I was impressed with Jourdain. He had a game plan, stuck to it. He didn't let Gracie take him out of his plan, and fought a solid fight from start to finish.
For sure, I think he showed some of that high-level skill he's been working on. Okay, moving on to the next card. Next fight on the card, this was one of my favorite fights of the card. Movsar versus Diego Lopez. This fight kept you on your toes, man. Diego Lopez coming in on his UFC debut. We were kind of wondering how he was going to pan out. Short notice. This was supposed to be Movsar versus Bryce Mitchell. I think Diego Lopez showed a lot in this fight, but he ultimately did not get the job done.
Yeah, I hope he gets another shot. I mean, he was a gamer. He had Movsar in trouble a couple times. One time we thought he might get a tap out there, and ultimately, on the scorecards, it wasn't a close fight, but it was a very exciting fight, and I hope Diego gets another shot. He's definitely has some potential. Like to see him I think Dana will take care of him. When you show up short notice and you give that type of performance, you're gonna get a call back most likely.
For sure. I saw Dana in the post-fight press conference actually talking about Diego Lopez, saying he was very impressed with the guy.
Nice.
Short notice.
Yeah.
Thinks he can do a lot off a full camp. All right, let's move into this women's strawweight
division
fight.
Man, don't bring this up.
Yeah, it was a little rough, but
if you recall my free parlay, it's we all legs hit except this one. So I was a little upset by that, Bryce.
Yeah, Jan versus Jessica Andrade. This fight was also started off very quickly, and Jan ultimately got the job done.
Didn't last long.
Didn't last long. Jan definitely impressed me with her performance. I think the Chinese UFC market definitely grew a little bit last night.
Absolutely, and I think you're going to see more and more of the Chinese athletes starting to filter into the UFC. And some others, you also see some of them showing up in Bellator and so forth. But Jan was coming off 2 straight losses, and it was a good fight. Why it lasted, it wasn't long, but no doubt Jan laid Andrade out.
Yeah, for sure. Jan's definitely someone to keep your eye on in that women's strawweight division. We might take a break on women's UFC betting, as it has not done us too well recently.
Yeah, we won't get. Yeah, but it's so anyway. Don't worry, we'll be back stronger than ever. Okay, we never guarantee betting, but we felt pretty good about that parlay. So.
Yeah, well, I can say these last 2 fights we did have a lock. So let's get right into it. The co-main event of the evening: Gilbert Burns versus Bilal Muhammad.
The disappointment of the evening, actually.
Yeah, actually it was. But hey, respect to these guys. A little over 3 weeks' notice they had for this fight. Man, Bilal came out. I expected a slow Bilal Muhammad. I expected him to weather the storm in Gilbert Burns. That ultimately the storm never came.
Yeah, Burns, he was disclosed. He did have an injury, and it was pretty obvious as the fight went on that he wasn't throwing his left at all. And he's known for a strong left hook. And but even before that, Bryce, Burns didn't strike me as having it last night. He seemed flat. I don't know if the quick turnaround from training for Mazadov and coming right back impacted that. Obviously we'd want to see a healthy Burns, see how that fight truly goes, but I don't know if it would have necessarily impacted the outcome.
Yeah, I think it would have definitely been a different fight, but both of these guys actually disclosed they had injuries. Burns suffered his. Apparently in the first round he tore his left shoulder. But Bilal actually spoke on it after the fight, saying he had a leg injury coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And very slow fight, but hey, shout out to Bilal Muhammad. 11-fight win streak, guaranteed UFC title fight, coming off Ramadan, 3 weeks notice. This was his opportunity, and he capitalized.
Yeah, he very 2 high-level fighters. Muhammad always, one thing you don't get from Muhammad generally is a bad performance. He's very consistent. As you said, 11 straight wins. That's almost unheard of in the UFC, frankly. And so I'll be curious to see when his title shot does come to fruition, how that plays out. He definitely is good enough to be a champion, frankly.
For sure. He definitely knows how to win the fight. It might not be the most interesting or the most exciting, but his diversity, man, showing up against Stephen Thompson and completely wrestling, and then Damian Maia just striking the whole fight.
Uh-huh.
He's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he's another guy. He is very disciplined. He comes in with a game plan based on who he's fighting. Because how many fighters do you know that everybody goes in with a game plan. What's the old Mike Tyson line? Everybody has a game plan to get punched in the mouth, okay? And, it gets thrown out the window, all right? And but Muhammad, very disciplined. He sticks with the game plan and executes it, okay? Frankly, that's why he's carrying an 11-fight win streak right now.
For sure. Let's jump into the main event of the evening. Aljamain the Funkmaster Sterling versus Henry Triple C Cejudo. This fight did not disappoint.
Did you think the fight lived up to its billing overall?
I thought it did. I thought it was a very high-level fight. I thought it was 2 of the best in that division clashing. So
ever.
Yeah,
2 of the best ever. Yeah, so maybe the 2 best ever, you could argue.
Yeah, so I think they both had a game plan going into that fight, clearly, and then I'd say after the first round, it went out the window.
Sure, yeah. A lot of adjustments. The high level fighting here by both guys. Very impressed with Triple C's quality of his fighting after such a long layoff. I'm not going to lie. I had Triple C winning this. went back, watched, read a lot of stuff today. People all over the place on this. I think the problem, Bryce, was that I think you could definitively give Triple C 2 rounds.
Yeah.
I think he definitively won 2 rounds. And I don't know if you could definitively give Aljo maybe round 1, that you could give him 1, you know. So that's where I think people got hung up on it. But, you know, I think in hindsight, when you look back on it, it wasn't a fight that you could scream a terrible decision.
I agree.
If Henry would have got it, I think people could have said, I can see it. Aljo got it. But you could see after the fight ended, Aljo was not the least bit sure. He was even looking at his people, shrugging his shoulders like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, it wasn't Aljamain's hometown. Did that have something to do with it? I'm not really sure. But it was interesting seeing both guys touch on the fight afterwards. Henry a little bit confused on his next route in the MMA space.
A lot of class by him. I thought he handled himself well after the fight.
He definitely he doesn't like the fact that he doesn't have gold around him right now. But Aljamain seemed pretty happy with the performance. Honestly, he was pretty happy. He took the Olympic gold medal.
I think he was relieved he got the victory.
For
frankly.
sure.
Yeah. So it's you know, and so the question is, what happens to Henry now? You know, he wasn't sure. I mean, he's going to have to take some time back and step away. You know, obviously we're looking at a O'Malley Sterling fight coming up in maybe September. The maybe Henry lays in the wings and decides to fight that champion. You know, things change, Joe. He's older. He's married. He has a child. He's expecting a second child. You know, you have to have that hunger. I think he was fighting for legacy here. Can he get himself up to do that again? There's an old saying, marvelous Marvin Hagler, Bryce, one of the great, he's actually right here behind us. Marvin Hagler, rest in peace, one of the greatest middleweight champions of all time. He said, it's very hard to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do road work when you're sleeping in silk pajamas, all right? Because you can get soft, you know.
Yeah. I think that's what Henry touched on. He said, hey, I wanted to win that fight against Sterling. I wanted to beat O'Malley, and then it was Volk. That was my goal. And Aljo kind of came out after saying, well, Henry didn't do it, so I'm going to do it. So I'll be curious to see both of their next pass. I think the bantamweight division is a lot more exciting with Henry Cejudo in there.
Sure, absolutely.
But I'll be curious to see how that goes after.
And then afterwards, we did get the, as you alluded to, they called Sugar into the cage, and the call out happened as we expected.
Yeah, what you take of all that? Marab stealing his jacket, Sugar kind of taking Aljo's
Yeah,
moment.
you know, I get they do that. It's setting up the next fight. I kind of didn't like the fact that the Funk Master never even really got a chance to enjoy the victory. And got a little bit out of hand. I will say one thing, being in Newark and being around a lot of the fighters and stuff, Sugar Sean O'Malley's level of popularity is off the charts. Okay,
sure.
I knew it, but I was shocked by it. I mean, you have Jamal Hill, light heavyweight champion of the world there, and not near the number of people interested in meeting Jamal as there was Sugar.
Yeah, Dana, it was interesting to see Dana came out after the fight in the post-fight press conference saying, yeah, he messed up with that. He shouldn't have let Sean O'Malley in the octagon after. But I think it was interesting. Definitely a good moment for the build-up of the next fight. I think they're targeting that for August in Boston.
Okay, that'd be a cool venue there, yeah.
For sure.
So, yeah,
on the East Coast.
Yeah, and Aljo said he hopes maybe Sugar will get off the tit and get there. So you talk about some friction, dislike leading up to the fight between Triple C and Aljo. I don't think you saw anything leading up to Punk Master and Sugar.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a interesting fight for sure. Let's touch on, well, first, who'd you have as your breakout fighter of the night?
You know, I don't. I would say Favola, just because I wasn't as familiar with him, and I was impressed with his victory. You know, over Dober. I thought some very good young. You know, the African Savage was impressive.
Yeah.
Ikram, who called out Bonecco, he's the guy. If you asked me to choose one person who I thought would have the brightest potential future, I'd go with Ikram, I think, from that group.
I actually learned something at the fight. It was interesting seeing that Ikram's only loss was actually Hamzat Chimaev.
Exactly, yeah.
I think if you're going to keep your eye on someone out of this card, I think I'll touch on 3 people. I think Ikram, keep your eye on him. He's going to be a force to reckon with. The African Savage, definitely keep your eye on him in the 205 division.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need new guys like him coming up. He's going to make that division a lot more exciting. And then, even though he lost, didn't get the outcome he wanted, Diego Lopez, he impressed me very much coming in his UFC debut. I think he showed a lot of heart, a lot of versatility, good jiu-jitsu,
yes, absolutely.
good stand-up.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I think Diego could be somebody that's a potential, a top 10 guy
For sure.
down the road there. How about Newark? What do you think of Newark's hosting of the event?
I thought it was pretty cool. It was my first UFC event, so definitely a little biased, but Newark itself, it wasn't the nicest area, but the Prudential Center was cool. I thought the 289 weigh-ins with Amanda Nunes and not Juliana Pena pulling out, but
Aldana,
Aldana.
yes. Yeah, that was, I think Nunes is always a class act. Aldana also a class act. So that's going to be a big fight. Pena pulling out did catch a little bit by surprise. I'm not sure. The Prudential Center did a great job. UFC did a great job. It was cool. It was on the East Coast, Bryce. We could get there and see it. Not sure Newark was the right locale for a fight of this magnitude, frankly.
Yeah, for sure. I think they made up for it with the events they put on. Definitely shook some hands with some cool people.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mace, the Schmo, met him and his wife. That was pretty cool. Sean O'Malley, Jamal Hill. You got to get a picture with
Frankie Edgar, Justin Gaethje was there.
Gaethje.
Yeah, so there was a lot of Bucky was there. We ran into Bucky. We saw
and then we got Aaron Blanchfield's autograph.
Yeah, we saw Aaron Blanchfield, Kevin Holland. We saw at a meet and greet. So so there was quite a few of the some big names down there. At the event. So overall, though, great weekend. Looking forward to our next one, whenever that may be.
Yeah, for sure. Hopefully, Boston.
Maybe Boston. We'll see.
Hey, it was good, you guys. Tune into this. I'm going to drop this tonight. Check it out. Wednesday, the Be Better podcast. That's my show. Check it out. Just look up Bryce Weaver, Be Better podcast on YouTube. You'll find it there. Also on Spotify, the Be Better podcast. We're looking to get this on Spotify here soon, so check it out, tune in. Thank you, it was fun.
Absolutely, great time it is. My man Ric Flair would say, woo! See you next time.